Oh, good morning, Anson. You're just in time.
Well, I'm glad of that. What for?
These dreadful figures, they just will not add up.
Figures are among the few things that do add up these days, so let's have a look.
Well, they show that I made a profit last month of $182. Well, now, you know that's not true.
Yes, I'm afraid I do. A check came into the bank this morning. A check of yours, my dear. Just happened to slip into my pocket. Your balance doesn't quite cover it.
Oh, dear. That's on account of that other check I deposited last week from that lovely lady over in Middleburg. Her name was Mrs. Fenton. It came back marked no funds.
It came back marked no Mrs. Fenton.
How can people do things like that?
Hallie, you must learn that you just can't trust anybody.
Yes, I suppose I must. Well, let's see if there's enough money to cover this check in the safe from that sale last week. I hope so. Let's see. Excuse me. Good morning. Something I can do for you?
Oh, thanks. Just looking around.
Oh, of course. Please do. I'll only be a few moments. There's the deposit slip, Anson, and $32.
That'll cover it all right, but does it leave you enough to go on?
Well, enough to make change.
Hallie, can't I persuade you to give all this up and let me take care of you?
Oh, Anson, dear, we've been all through that so often.
You still can't forget Johnny Davis. I'll run these figures through at the bank and call you back. Goodbye, my dear.
Goodbye, Anson, and thank you.
It's kind of a nice little place you got here.
Why, thank you.
You own it?
It is my shop, though Mr. Hall's bank actually owns most of it. That was he who just left now. Just what was it you were looking for?
Tie pin? And your name must be Adams.
Yes, I'm afraid I don't have any tie pins.
Harriet Gates Adams?
Yes, but my goodness, how would you know that? No one ever uses the Gates anymore. That was my mother's godfather's name.
What's the rest of his name?
Mr. Gates? Well, let me think. My mother used to call him Uncle Fred. His middle initial was O. It's a queer sort of a name. Ormiston. Frederick Ormiston Gates.
Right. Don't you have a tie pin that was his once?
Why, yes, the big pearl set in topaz. Why, oh, but that is not for sale.
I don't want to buy it. I just want to see it.
Well, I suppose I could show it to you. It's in the safe. But do you mind my asking just why you're interested?
I have the mate to it.
Why, you have. They're exactly alike.
They were made from a pair of old earrings in the Gates family.
That's right, and Mr. Gates gave one of them to my mother. Now, isn't that interesting? Why, of course I'll be glad to show you the other one if you won't mind waiting just a moment.
Sure, I'll wait. Just let me see it, lady. That's the matching Gates tie pin, all right. And you can pin them both in your best hat now, Miss Adams.
I can what?
You better sit down, take a deep breath, lady. This is going to be a joke. Frederick Gates died last month. Named you in his will.
Passed away. Oh, I am sorry to hear that. Poor old gentleman.
Old, yeah. Poor, no. He left you $100,000.
He did. Now, wasn't that kind and thoughtful? How much did you say? What? Oh, well, it's dreadful of me even to think of the money, but that does seem a very great deal, Mr.
Oh, Wilkins. My name is Wilkins. Marty Wilkins, Gregg Detective Agency, Chicago. I specialize in locating distant heirs, missing persons, that sort of thing.
Oh, I can't believe it. I can't quite take it in.
Well, here's a copy of the will and the estate audit.
Well, thank you very much. Of course, I'm not awfully good at legal and money matters. I'll have to telephone Mr. Hall about this. 100,000.
Evening, Miss Adams. I hung around outside till your guests left.
I had no idea so many people would come to celebrate my good fortune. But I'm very sorry you had to wait.
Oh, it's all right. I could wait, but maybe my train won't. Now, what can I do for you?
Will you sit down, Mr. Wilkins? Now, when I tell you why I telephoned you, I'm afraid you may think that I'm being a little foolish.
Well, you can afford to be.
That's what I keep trying to tell myself. Mr. Wilkins, didn't you tell me that you specialize in locating missing persons?
Yeah, of course, Greg Agency handles all kinds of cases, but mostly I'm their bird dog.
Do you think you could... Well, would you be able to find someone for me?
You, ma'am? Well, I don't know why not. We have all sorts of clients. Sure, I guess I could.
I'd like very much to learn the whereabouts of a man named Davis.
Guy, huh?
I don't know where he is or what he's doing.
Well, we'll find out. Now then. His full name, please.
John Michael Davis.
Mm-hmm. Description?
Oh. I wrote down everything I could remember about him just after I telephoned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see. John Michael Davis, born 19... Grew up here in Twin Oaks. Left in 19... Was missing for 20 years?
Yes.
Height, weight, Blue eyes. Probably became an artist.
Oh, yes. He drew beautifully, and he used to carve the...
Got a picture of him?
Why, no.
You sure?
Well, just a very old one.
I'm afraid I'll need it, Miss Adams. No, the taxi driver's getting nervous.
Oh, dear, I hope I haven't made you miss your train.
Oh, it don't matter. I'll have to stay over here in town and do a little checking tomorrow anyway.
Would you really have to do that? I'd so much rather people didn't. I mean, I was hoping it could just be...
Between us? Don't worry. It will be. Hi, Miss Adams.
Good afternoon.
Sorry I'm late. I had to stay downtown talking to some of the boys who knew Davis.
What have you found out?
He was a tough little monkey, wasn't
John was a very positive thinker.
he? So I found out. He told the school principal he was a stuffed shirt, broke up a classroom, and called the truant officer who arrested him a hick cop.
So I was afraid you'd find out the unpleasant thing.
Mind if I say that I found out a few things about you, too, ma'am? People in this town have sort of a soft spot for you. Oh, not only that bank president, Mr. Hall, but most everybody. You're their girl. They say you had plenty of chances to marry, but you just sat around here waiting for that big talker.
It wasn't just talk with John.
Well, why didn't he come back to Twin Oaks the way he told you he would?
How do you know what he told me? How does anybody know?
People don't have to know all the words. They can whistle that one. It's a pretty old piece of music.
Yes, it is. And I can't get it out of my mind, Mr. Wilkins. Or my heart.
Okay. Why don't you run down to New York and get yourself some new clothes? Take a whirl at one of those beauty places.
What possible difference could that make to you?
Oh, not to me, Miss Adams. To your Mr. Davis. He hasn't seen you in 20 years. If he remembers you at all, he remembers a pretty young girl.
Of course he does. I hadn't thought of that.
Kind of get yourself fixed up. You know, they have fashion counselors, experts on hairdo, makeup.
Do you really think it would make such a difference?
If we're going to pick up this hand, Miss Adams, let's play it in spades.
Play it in spades? Oh, yes. Hello? Oh, Mr. Wilkins. You have? Oh, I knew you would. I knew it. Where is he? Right here in New York. Oh, Brooklyn. Well, that's quite near, isn't it? Shall I come straight over? Well, of course, if you think best. Very well. In 20 minutes, I'll meet you downstairs in the lobby. Goodbye. Oh, my. Mr. Wilkins.
Miss Adams. Well, say, lady, get you.
You see, I took your advice.
Yeah, you sure did. I didn't recognize you. I didn't recognize you, and that's my business. Say, wait a minute, maybe that's our angle.
Mr. Wilkins, please tell me all about John. Is he well? Is he happy?
He's okay, I guess.
Does he remember me?
I didn't ask him.
Mr. Wilkins, is there something wrong? John isn't... He isn't...
Married? Oh, no.
Well, then, I'm sure he'll remember me.
Wait a minute. Maybe we won't want him to.
Why not? Mr. Wilkins, is there something wrong with John?
Well, he's a fix-it man.
He is? What does he fix?
Oh, statues, pictures, frames. As a matter of fact, he's got sort of a junk shop.
Well, now, isn't that interesting?
I'm way out of line, Miss Adams, and I know it, but what I mean is, you're the girl from the little hometown who'll trust anybody. I don't want to see you taken by him just for your $100 grand. Now, why don't you walk in there like a stranger? Look him over first.
I appreciate what you're trying to warn me about, Mr. Wilkins. Mr. Hall said very much the same thing just before I left Twin Oaks.
So?
Well, if John doesn't recognize me the first minute, perhaps I'll follow your suggestion.
Morning, ma'am.
How do you do?
Pretty well, thank you. Something I can do for you?
Well, yes, I have an old house that's rather badly run down. I thought perhaps you might give me some advice on restoring my things.
Sure, I'll be glad to. What type of house is it?
Early American.
Well, it's worth restoring. Now, let me see. I've got a big folder on early American around here. Oh, will you step into the back, please, Miss
Gates.
Oh, yeah. How do you do, Miss Gates? My name's Davis, John Davis.
Yes, I know.
You do? How come?
Oh, I saw your sign.
Oh, sure.
Taxi.
This metal sculpture's just something I do in my spare time, of which I have plenty. Art, with a blowtorch. Now, Miss Gates, the way you describe your living room, I think I'd arrange it something like this. I'd put the Chippendale over here, opposite the fireplace.
Now, of course. Why didn't I think of that? My goodness, for a man who does such unusual modern pieces, you seem to know a great deal about early American.
I ought to. I grew up in a small, old-fashioned town.
But you felt the city offered more opportunity?
Sure. I was going to set the world on fire. Nothing happened.
And didn't you ever go back?
Home? No, thanks.
Why not? If you don't mind my asking.
Well, you see, Miss Gates, I talked an awful lot in those days, just like I do now. I told them I was going to put their hick town on the map by becoming a famous artist. And I left town in a haze of hot air, my own. In the next 10 years, I don't think I made a nickel painting anything but farmers' barns. Yep, I guess I was about the biggest artistic bust in North America. I couldn't go back home and eat dirt even if I'd had the car fare.
Oh, but Mr. Davis, I'm sure they didn't all think...
Didn't matter what they all think. It's what I think. Yeah, I'm just a touch-up artist. I can fix or carve or repair anything for anybody but myself.
But you've done all these unusual modern things for yourself.
Strictly. But who wants them? A couple of years ago, when I found out I couldn't sell standard stuff, I went modern. Me, a rebel.
I think you were always a rebel.
What's that?
Now, this one seems particularly interesting. What do you call it?
Young girl in an apple tree.
Why?
I remember an apple orchard when I was a kid with a young girl in it.
You do? Tell me about her. What was she like?
She was the prettiest girl in town. She thought I was going to be a big success, too. But we were both wrong, Miss Gates. So I suppose it's best forgotten. Excuse me. Yes? Speaking. Oh, yes, Mr. Kingston, it's done. Well, I haven't had time to deliver it. I have other things to do here. I'm no errand boy. You'll get it today. Right now. Okay, yes, I can hear you. You think I'm deaf? Well, maybe I don't want your business. Sure, you can take it someplace else. You're welcome. I'm sorry, Miss Gates, but I have to go out now and make a delivery away over to New York.
You've been very kind, Mr. Davis. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
So he still packs the same old wallet for you, huh?
Yes, he does. But I'm just afraid that when he finds out that I'm...
That you're loaded?
Well, yes.
That he won't like you? Oh, lady, that's a switch.
Now, of course, I suppose I could dispose of a great deal of it to charity.
No, Miss Adams, please, nothing like that. Just let me think. You know why, when he was a kid, he hated school principals and cops? Because they were big and he was small. Well, that's why he don't like rich people. Because he's poor.
No, Mr. Wilkins. It isn't only the money. It's because Donn hasn't had the success that he needed, so.
Old ego, huh? Say, what about that modern metal stuff he's working with in his shop? Is that his own?
Oh, yes, and he has several quite lovely abstract pieces.
Now, how would it be if you talked him into planting some of that stuff in a gallery, and then you buy it?
Oh, no. Pretty soon I'm going to have to tell him who I am, and then he'd know that I'd bought it.
Not if I rig the dealer.
I couldn't be a party to a deception like that.
Well, I'm still just a dumb detective, Miss Adams. But I understand this much. If he's that proud, you won't go back to Twin Oaks as Mrs. J.M. Davis, not unless he buys the tickets. Now, what better could you do with your money than to buy him a straight shot of success? He'll never find out. You just leave all the details to me. Hey, art. Art dealers? Well, there it is. I got it entered.
You certainly did, and it is lovely. You know, it's one of the nicest pieces in the exhibit.
Oh, we have company. Hey. This is the lady I told you about who's going to buy the Davis entry. Mr. Adlon's the gallery manager.
Madame shows enviable taste. We've just heard from the competition committee. Mr. Davis' unusual piece has won second prize.
A prize?
Some thought it deserved first. One of the committee has made an offer for it, 300. He's rather a prominent collector. If Madame would care to bid against him, I shall be in my office. Excusez-moi.
Did you hear that? $300. How much higher do you want me to go for you?
Not a penny. Don't you understand, Mr. Wilkins? Johnny's piece has won a prize, and it has sold on its own merits. Oh, I'm going to ride straight over to Brooklyn and tell him about it. And I'm just going to take this with me.
Why, Miss Gates, hello. I really didn't expect to see you here.
I've just come from the Gallery Moderne, and the most wonderful thing has happened. Your entry won second prize.
My entry?
Yes, the apple tree girl that Mr. Wilkins persuaded you to...
You know Mr. Wilkins? No, never mind that. It won a prize.
Yes, and a famous collector has bought it for $300, Johnny. Oh. There's something else I've got to tell you.
No, there isn't. You've already told me everything I've been waiting to hear for years. But there's something I have to tell you, Miss Gates.
Oh, there is? What is it?
About a girl.
A girl?
Yes, even a fix-it man can have a girl in the background someplace, you know.
Why, yes, of course he can. I should have thought of that.
She's lovely and kind. Rather like you, but she's different, too.
Well, I'm sure she'll be very happy for you about the prize, I mean.
Oh, yes. I owe it to her, in a way.
To her, yes. Well, I think I'll be going.
But I thought you were going to tell me something.
That doesn't matter now. Goodbye, Mr. Davis.
Goodbye?
Yes, I'm leaving New York tomorrow.
So am I. You see, my girl doesn't live here. She lives back home in that little town I told you about.
She does? Is she the girl in the apple tree?
Yes. You see, a long time ago, I promised her that when I got started, I'd come back. But I never did.
Why didn't you, Johnny?
Well, I just didn't think I was anybody the prettiest girl in town would want to marry.
I'm quite sure you were wrong.
Yes, I guess I know that now. Perhaps I was thinking too much of success and not enough of us. But I never stopped loving her. And I always promised myself that the first money I ever made or the first prize I ever won, I'd come and lay it at her feet. But we were very young then. Very. Do you think she'd still be waiting?
Didn't she promise to?